He's obviously been very open about his addiction. I was listening to him on one show. I mean, he was talking about how he was snorting Adderall, that sort of stuff. What was the lowest point, and how did you guys get through it together?
You know, when he talks about like snorting Adderall and all that, like I had no idea. You know, he was an excellent liar. He could, you know, deceive and manipulate situations.
Like how so?
You know, if I called him out on something, like you were late for this, or, you know, you lost that opportunity because you had erratic behavior on the set, he could always find someone else to blame. You know, it was never his fault. He wouldn't take accountability. And it got to like a breaking point where, you know, it was, you know.
What was that for you guys?
His erratic behavior. It was, you know, he in 1 week, I think he ran out of gas 3 times in his car. You know, and it's like, how is that possible that you run out of gas? Like, what are you paying attention to? Like, what, you know, things just weren't right. And so then I had confronted him and I said, I just don't believe your lies. And so you don't even need to bother me with them anymore because I don't believe them. And I tried to date other people and just, you know, end the relationship and, you know, but I was never going to end the relationship with his son. You know, I'd grown attached to him and, you know, and I worried about him. So finally just having conversations, I'd never talked to his agent. Like he never even introduced me to his agent. He would say, well, don't talk to my assistant. You know, he kept all of us at a distance so that intentionally so that we couldn't compare notes. And finally, like we all realized we were seeing the same thing and that, you know, his job opportunities were drying up because he was burning bridges wherever he was going. You know, by not showing up on time, getting on fights with people on the set or in the club. So finally the decision was made to do an intervention. And it was very distressing for me because I didn't know if this would be the thing that he would never speak to me again. But I knew it was time, like we had nowhere else to go.
And you're thinking what that morning?
He's gonna, you know, he could fight all of us. He could punch all of us.
You gotta understand, Graham, to be 50 years old at your own intervention it's humiliating. It is. That's why I guess the reaction of so many drug addicts is anger, because it's such a defense to go like, no, you're all out of line. But at 50, I kept so many secrets. I kept the fact that I wanted to get well a secret too.
His life had become unmanageable. And, you know, he knew he was gonna die if he didn't get help. It's a dead end street. Like there's nowhere to go. Addiction will kill you.
When you actually can be beaten down to your knees by your addiction, where the only conceivable way out is what you're being offered, and then you take it. My way led me into an intervention at 50 and going into rehab and standing in line for meds in pajamas at 50 years old. Like I have empirical data that my way does not work. So when you surrender, like absolutely, I'll do whatever it takes. And you do that, and then you build slowly by slowly, one day at a time, and you learn a design for living. To share that with somebody is it's like winning the Super Bowl, the NBA championship, and the World Series all wrapped in one, because it's not a game, it's your life.
Why not run and say, you know, the hell with this?
Because I think every person at some point in their life needs help or support.
It seems like there was a dozen exits that she could have taken for a much easier few years. I guess she loved me until I could love myself. Like I get choked up even thinking about it, like how at my worst she's seen me. and stuck with me. You know, like in a cartoon where like there's a sheepdog, it's gonna walk off a construction site, but then the last second a beam comes up and saves it. Well, it was like the opposite for me. She met me right as I missed the beam and went down into my bottom. When somebody sticks with you through something like that, that's some paint you don't want coming off your canvas.
Our next comedian, from Saturday Night Live, and Sharon McGuire, and a lot of other things. Please welcome to the stage, Jay Mohr!
Good to see you guys. This is fun, huh? Let's get something out of the way. You guys don't look the same either, okay? This is what happens when you quit drugs. You look weird. Yeah. And I quit drugs. I went to rehab 2 years ago. You know how happy I am to be on a show with my brothers from SNL? I was dead. Oh my God.
What's it like for you listening to him tell those stories, having kind of lived it firsthand?
The first time I saw him do that, kind of go into that vein about the intervention.
Oh, it's the worst surprise party ever. It's like the worst surprise. You walk into a room, everybody you love is sitting there, and you're like, hey, 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 oh, no! Ah!
It was too sensitive. And I was like, is he trying to like pay me back by like talking about it on stage, and I'm uncomfortable. But then like,
and it touches you kind of now, even talking about it.
But then I realized like how much that's helping people, that he's so vulnerable and that he is making people laugh through it. But it was the scariest event of my life. And then to see him embrace it and find the humor in it was so powerful and humbling. And I couldn't be more proud when he just, nobody talks like that. It's really, it's so important.
You have to lie to get a drug addict to their own intervention. Hey, buddy. Like, you can't outthink a drug addict. You got to come up with some scheme to get us to sit still. Here's what they told me. I had a podcast at the time, and I was told the next morning at 8 a.m. for my podcast, I was going to interview Wu-Tang Clan. And I was so high, I believed them. Seinfeld says you're either above them or below them. You can't vacillate. So that entire story is, I was beneath below you. So it gives me a lot of freedom. I'm the reason for all my problems, which was really liberating too, because if I'm the reason for all my problems, then that means I always have a solution.
I know it's hard to talk about, but it has to feel so gratifying to have gone through it and then come out on the other side in the way you guys have.
It is, but like you never really ever come out of it. You always, you take it one day at a time, and you're grateful for that day. But like when he talks about angry packing, I can't believe that he could make it funny, because it was so awful, that moment, because he's staring at me like, I'm gonna hate you the rest of your life for doing this to me. And he's packing and I'm like melting inside, but I've got to stay strong. And the fact that he can go up there and get a room full of people to laugh, and then it's like, oh my gosh, like nothing is so scary that you can't find your way out of it, or using humor to like help you see it for what it is.
There's two ways to angry pack. You can either never look at the person and be like, yeah, that, or you never take your eyes off the person. That was the power move for this trial. I'm like, yeah, you may have won the battle, but you never were going to win the war. Darn. And I just never took my eyes off her. Then I got to rehab, and all I had was 44 pairs of socks.
What was the moment you realized you were kind of validated in the decision that you made, and you could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Like every day, it's like something. It's another new thing that happens. So like, when he came back from rehab, and a song that we liked, and he just grabbed me and we started dancing in the kitchen. Like, and that, the joy, the freedom that he had of just, you know, like being in love and like being on the other side of it.
I'll show you my before photo, my intake photo.
Yeah.
Oh, it's soulless. But you just stay each day, like you just keep getting happier and happier. And as you go, my thing is I put as many people between me and my bullshit, and it's really hard for me to get to my bullshit. Like she said, compared notes, and she wasn't the person that did it. It was my agent, and she got brought in. So I think that was validating, like that you were brought in, not like having to lead the charge.
I was prepared if it hadn't gone well that I was going to move out and not tell him where I was. Like that, you know, I was, you know, like that was the best I could do in terms of cutting ties.
Well, I knew it worked too. Like my mom got sober when I was 10, so I was like, just you need somebody else to pull the emergency brake. I think they give you Seroquel so you don't run out of rehab. You're having a tantrum, you take your pill, you're like, you know what, f*** this place and f*** you, I'm out of here. Just gonna lay down in the driveway.